someone else associated with Disney, and this brings us to our final main topic of today, because someone that's decided, hey, I haven't been in the news for a little while here, is Karen Kennedy, as Mario throws the culture for $5. Karen Kennedy is the kind of person who blames everyone for their failures. In this particular case, though, in the reference to our final main story, it wasn't actually her doing it. Tom, do we have the story on hand?
Oh, I believe I have it somewhere.
I don't know this story. I blame you guys for my failure.
Producer calls out toxic fandom attacking Kathleen Kennedy.
Yeah, so basically this is Tony Gilroy, the producer of the Casio keyboard series Andor for Disney Plus, whose first season apparently was good according to those who saw it. Problem was, no one actually saw it, or maybe Mr. Chato saw it, but hardly anyone else ever saw it, because the Disney brand has just been, or the Star Wars brand has just been that damaged. So he has come out and he's spoken on a few occasions. Like last time he spoke is when he said that, well, when I signed on to do Star Wars, I was expecting massive audience success, but the critics would have to work a bit to come around to it. But the opposite happened. The critics couldn't be more supportive, but we wound up having to chase the audience. And what he has noticed since then is the conversation in the fan community, and he's not happy about it. No. He finds it deeply problematic. So what he's doing here then in this story from the Direct is calling out, quote unquote, toxic fandom for daring to attack the great Kathleen Kennedy.
This always goes well. I'm glad they're going back to this highly successful strategy.
Yeah.
Yes. Actually, you know what? Yes. Defend the person that hired you to come in and fix a movie that Gareth Edwards was screwing up.
Yeah, because
are you saying there perhaps is self-interest involved in this statement?
Yeah.
I can't believe it.
And you know what this tells me a little bit? Because, yeah, I'm very glad you pointed out, because we could read more, but really I said the gist of it. It's Tony Gilroy. He's the guy who came in to fix Rogue One. He's the guy who did the season 1 of Casio Keyboard, which is a 2-season series. And right now, season 2 is on hiatus in the writer's strike. Is there even going to be a season 2? Maybe he
was
needs
bored.
to score some... what was that?
That's right. Well, he's bored, he can't do any writing, and he wants that second season, so you got to come out and do it.
Yeah, maybe he wants to. Maybe he needs to get like some brownie points, something like that.
Andre, you know the best part about this, though?
He has her back. That's my speculation, at least.
One of the best parts about this article is where he talks about how, on our creative team, we had people who know absolutely nothing about Star Wars, and then we also had super nerds. And it's like, having the super nerds, I guess, is fine. I don't know if that's how they want to be classified if they know a lot about Star Wars. At the same time, maybe don't brag that you have people on your creative team who know literally nothing about the franchise they're working in. That's sort of like if you come out and say, guys, here at our automobile shop, we're really into car mechanics. We really want to be able to fix your vehicle. And we've assembled a great team. We've got some guys who absolutely know everything about cars, and then half the team knows absolutely nothing. Come on by. We'll fix it. We'll change your oil. It's like, maybe say they know 50% of Star Wars, 60%, not nothing.
Well, I would rather they tell the truth or just hire people that know 50 or 60% about Star Wars.
That would be nice.
Of course, you're using a very broad term. I think it would be more into the case of we have a whole bunch of people working at a specific company like Bemarian Vodaworks. And you've got guys that are experts in manual transmission and guys that are experts in automatic transmission. And they're now working together on a new car. Like that would be more the case. You have 2 experts in different areas. Ideally, that's what you want. You want someone that understands the mechanics of storytelling overall. And then you want those that understand the universe overall. You want those 2 to come together to work in unison to create something great. but we don't. But that is the model, but not necessarily the practice that Disney has at least advertised.
You know, Script, when you're hiring, wouldn't you think though that one of the first things, if you're going to be on the team to make Star Wars, they'd say, "Hey, you ever seen a Star Wars thing? No, that's going to be a problem."
No,
In
I
Hollywood,
don't
no,
think that's
it's the opposite.
necessarily a problem. I mean, if you take a look at how the professionals are lined up to do a Hollywood movie, so let's just take Alien, the very first one. No one will have known anything about it because it was in, Ridley's head, but they got Ron Cobb to do the illustrations for the space outfits, and then they got Giger to do the Alien. You don't. So the mistake was, it's not a feature to say, oh, half the people didn't know about Star Wars. The way he should have said it was, half the people were experts in sci-fi, or they were experts in leather manufacturing, something, or camera gimbal movement. So at least you could see that they were part of the team. I don't need them to be experts in the movie, but they need to be experts in their field. Donald Trumbull knew nothing about what Space Oddity 2001 was going to be like, but he was an expert in his, he developed to become an expert in his field. He kind of invented it. So it's just a weird thing to say.
Well, another example would be Gene L. Kuhn. He was a showrunner for season 2 of Star Trek. He created the Federation and the United Federation planets and how those things worked. He came from Zorro and Westerns and not science fiction, but he did something well to it because he understands the fundamentals of what's going on. The whole idea that if you're a fan, you are therefore a more reliable source.
Even that's not good.
To IP is bad, because look no further than Dave Filoni. He is a fan. He knows probably so many more intimate details of Star Wars that have ever been publicly released, and yet he puts out trash.
Well, he's personally compromised by his own, issues.
Which is regardless, though. Like, the fan does not guarantee you success.
Yeah, his cowboy hat is several sizes too small.
Let me push back, and I think we'll arrive in the same place. But if we don't, it'll be a fascinating journey. So I agree that if you are doing a technical task, such as gimbals, that you don't have to know anything about Star Wars to do that. On the other hand, if you're part of the creative process, if you are hired into a project and somehow you don't know anything about the franchise for which you've just been hired, I would assume that you guys would at least agree with me on this, that then it should be a prerequisite that before you begin work, you need to do your homework to understand.
Sure. Yes.
So, so then we're on the same page there.
Oh, yeah. No, that would be idiocy if you don't go into the archives and dive into it.
Yeah.
And dare we say idiocy does not reign at Disney.
Yeah. If you don't acclimate yourself to the IP that you've never heard of before, that you're being hired to do, you're doing a disservice to the people that hired you and the people that would most likely be buying your product. And
I would say Andor is probably the most coherent.
Yeah, and if there's one thing Disney does these days, it's that.
Yeah. I think Andor was probably
anybody hear Paul again? Paul's mic's it's muted like crazy. You wouldn't believe this thing down there.
Andor was probably the most coherent vision that came out of Disney regarding Star Wars, something new. I mean, I think the pace of it was problematic, but I liked the adult aspects of it. I mean, I don't want to sit here and take it apart. That's not what we're talking about, but there's a lot of things to say positive about Andor.
Okay.
You disagree, Coach?
Look, I'm not going to get into it because it's not relevant.
It's old news.
Yeah, and it's not relevant to this conversation. But I don't, like I said, I don't see Disney understanding their customer.
Oh,
and I think that's the larger problem here. Their customers are telling them, we want this, you're not giving us that, and of course they're saying that's toxic fandom. No, it's your customers telling you I'm trying to buy blue jeans and you're selling me skirts. Those are not blue jeans.
No,
I'm not sure Disney considers us customers anymore.
Well, I know Kathleen Kennedy surely doesn't. She got her wish. Yeah. She got rid of all the 50-year-olds who create.
If you go by that advertisement I showed earlier, Culture, that's exactly who they're going for.
The destruction of Disney was sown in the purchases of these properties because it wasn't core to their business ethos. They thought they knew what they were doing.
Behind them.
Pardon me?
And then the personalities behind them as well.
Well, that's the bonus.
That's right.
But from a corporate culture perspective, the purchase of these properties has killed Disney because they had no idea what to do with them.
No, they should have just left them alone. Let the people that left to their own devices do what they do best instead of turning them into girls' properties. You're 100% right. And you've spoken very, very eloquently on how corporate culture changes during the course of a merger. Because if you're bringing them into a merged existence, you've got a problem. If you're bringing them in as a wholly owned subsidiary and you leave them to their own devices, they operate very well.
Right.
And, case in point would have been early on at Pixar, where they left that alone. Lasseter was, jamming, doing what he does. That thing did great, and then they started to, wokeify it. They spread Lasseter out too much. And then they got rid of him because he wasn't down with their program. I mean, he
was mean to people. He criticized their work.
But something else that's
it wasn't that he hugged too many people?
Yeah, hugging.
This clip was taken from Midnight's Edge in the Morning, which streams live every Monday, Wednesday and Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time on the Midnight's Edge main channel. There you can send in your live questions and comments before clips and full stream replays are uploaded to Midnight's Edge live archives. We are also on Twitter, Rumble, Odyssey and Facebook, so smash that like, help share, subscribe and join us.